Good evening, campers, dreamers, and babysitters. A fading celebrity decides to use a black market drug, a cell replicating substance that temporarily creates a younger, better version of herself. Yes, folks, this is our raw reaction review for The Substance. Well, Luke. We are only mere days away from Fantastic Fest. And yes, we have been busy bees behind the scenes. I know we said that quite a bit last week, that we've been preparing for not only that, but also videos for October. So it's been tough, honestly, to get out to the theater. But there was one film that we spoke about last week in a private conversation that we said, I really want to make time for that if we can. Luckily for us, after all of the searching, digging, and diving that I did, I was able to acquire a screener for that film. And that is, ladies and gentlemen, The Substance. Yes, this was kind of a dark horse, is kind of what I've been describing it as. I had no clue about this movie coming out, nothing until a trailer dropped. And I think it took me a while to even come back to the trailer. Maybe it was the Bloody Disgusting article. You see that image with Demi Moore and her back with the kind of spinal rip there. That's all I had seen from this. And yeah, I knew nothing really about it until I actually saw the trailer and saw all of the style and the craziness that this movie looked. And I got to admit, I was intrigued.
Yeah, this one was sort of a looming specter for me, I would say. Looking at all the films we're anticipating through the year, we've had an Alien Romulus coming out, Terrifier 3 on the horizon. We're always just bombarded with that news, and that's the kind of stuff we focus on. And then you get these little tidbits of The Substance. And I'll be honest, I read the Bloody Disgusting articles on it. I knew the concept. It intrigued me that Demi Moore was part of this, diving into the realm of horror. But I never got around to watching the trailer, to be honest. So just from concept alone, this I found rather intriguing. So, this one I was eager to check out. Like you said, we're pretty busy in terms of screeners and things that we have to consume media-wise. But this was one that was going to get us out to the theater. And to be honest, this isn't nearby. This is probably more so a 20-minute drive. So, to go out of your way to watch this was something that, was going to be, I'm going to go to the theater to check this one out just because the concept was so intriguing. So when we got that screener and we were able to watch this one, and I got to say, this one really does hit.
Yeah, I know. We really didn't waste any time either. I mean, we've had the luxury a lot, thanks to all of you guys checking out these reviews and stuff over the last year, of just getting things really early and just kind of being able to sit with things. And, it's not because we aren't excited. It's mostly just a timing thing. But this one, man, like, we got it so late. We were like, not only, man, we got to watch this to get the review done, but we were wanting to watch this. Like, this was in there. And I agree,
excitement.
Luke. This excitement translated into something very satisfying for fans of body horror, but also fans of kind of this weird, commentary on just Hollywood and, like what it's like to be a socialite and what it's like to be an influencer, and how, you have, especially if you're a woman in this market, in this kind of field, that you really have almost this biological clock working against you in so many ways. And I love the way The Substance handles all of that material, because it's not like we haven't seen that before. My biggest fear when it comes to topics like that is that it would feel very heavy-handed. But no, this movie has an interesting concept, and it's able to keep that concept moving and weave in all that social commentary in a very natural and satisfying way.
Yeah, it really did surprise me in terms of that social commentary and what we did get there, in the expansion upon it. We have Dennis Quaid in here as well, and he's in a position of power of sorts, and I love that we're kind of applying pressure to Demi Moore's character, Elizabeth Sparkle, who's this prominent, she has her own workout show, and she's this kind of fitness guru. And the idea being that, she's kind of aging out, so to speak, for at least Hollywood standards. And then you have Dennis Quaid kind of pulling these strings, which, he's up there in age, but, those social standards don't apply to him when it comes to that. So I thought that was rather interesting, and, how you are able to connect those dots while you're watching this film. But then they also, they dial into the sci-fi elements. They dial into the horror elements, and types of films like this. My hesitation is always, it was a great film, but, they didn't go far enough. There was just something that they left unchecked for me, So watching The Substance, I was like, oh, they're hitting this, they're checking this box, and I was waiting for that. But I'll be honest, they go down some different routes in here that I was not expecting, that I was actually playing in my brain as I was watching this, saying, if they go this route with it, I'm going to absolutely love this film. And they kept hitting every mark with this thing. There's a point in here when we get really into the practical effects, and, they really do get to showcase it. And I'll say you're only seeing feet. And I'll say, as soon as that element popped up on screen, I was absolutely captivated. I was excited because I was like, it's really checking all the boxes for me. And we still had that third act to go.
Yeah, there was a lot to love, especially for fans of body horror, fans of Cronenberg. You could tell the director here, and I must say, I did check out some of her filmography. She doesn't have a ton under her name, but one film that she has is one that admittedly I have avoided. It's called Revenge. It is one of those essay revenge films that's just, I've been very vocal about it. Those are hard for me to sit down and watch. If there's any like kind of horror film or film in general that makes me very uncomfortable, it's anything involving sexual assault or anything like that. That's really tough. So this film, though, has made me curious to go back and see it, because seeing how she handled this, I could very much see why Revenge got so much praise. And her name is and I did look this up, so I'm not messing it up. It's just it's a French translation here, but it's Coralie Fargeat is how you pronounce it. And my God, she's a visionary. I said this in a tweet last night. I said that this is aggressive filmmaking. Like, she just, the styles that she chooses, it's so pronounced, it's so deliberate. There are so many things that you see this and you just think like, man, she's pulling from Cronenberg, she's pulling from Kubrick. And then there's stuff you watch and she feels like she's Gaspar Noé, you know what I mean? Like she's really just like using all of the tricks and tools of the trade in this one film. And for a film that is admittedly, we're both people who are very picky about our run times. If anybody could give a shit about anything, it's that we're always dogging on run times. But I will say, this being a 2-hour and 20-minute movie, my wife and I had to watch it in 2 sittings due to schedules. It just flew by. Both those hours, I mean, good God, it just flew by. And it's because of that expert filmmaking that's on display here. She can really weave in not only the story, but make it visually interesting frame by frame. And I will tell you, as somebody here who would maybe want to try to cut something out of those last 20 minutes, not the last 20 minutes of the movie, but 20 minutes or so to make this a closer to a 2 hours, I really thought about it hard. I did. I can't think of anything that I'd really want to cut down.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, when I looked at this film and realized it was a 2-hour 20 runtime, I did wince a little bit because I was like, how's this going to go? Is this going to start dragging? Now, I could see maybe a critique being from some people that it may be a little long. Maybe some scenes go on for a little bit longer than they should, which I would totally understand. For me, it absolutely works. I had no problem with it. I was more so aware that the scenes were running slightly long. There's a scene in here with our character named Sue, and she's kind of just stretching in her apartment, and it goes on for a little bit longer than probably you would say kind of normal filmmaking would go. Nothing offensively long, but you can kind of tell that you're sitting in the scene. And I'll say, for me, that stuff absolutely works because it's completely intentional. It doesn't seem like they're padding any sort of runtime. That idea of almost tonally going from one aspect of filmmaking to another aspect of filmmaking, where you really do have this melding of art house. You have really heavy science fiction, you have really heavy horror, as well as kind of a gore fest. We're kind of flipping these switches, but they all feel organic. It doesn't feel jarring. It doesn't feel like you're watching a separate film. We seamlessly go into each different tone throughout the film, and we kind of weave in and out of them, and they all absolutely work for the story that's being told. When we present this really heavy science fiction, just with the substance itself, I think that could kind of rip people out if you're not heavy into science fiction. But with this mixing of the art house feel, the heavy horror, the gore fest, I think this is going to be almost a taster's choice of filmmaking, in terms of there's a lot here for people to unpack. There's a lot here for people to enjoy. So maybe even if you don't enjoy one aspect of this, there's such a broad spectrum here that is covered in this 2 hours and 20 minutes that there's going to be something here that you're going to absolutely adore.
I agree with you, man. I mean, there is so many of things that I love watching in other films. Like, there's so many things that, like, when it comes to tone and genre and story, that are all very well crafted together in here. All of these feel like they fit like puzzle pieces, and it's so satisfying to watch. And I gotta say, I gotta give some people some props here, because I will start with the one that's I will probably say the least about, not because they're bad or anything, but I think that it's just because for how eccentric they are, they're not in the movie a ton, I will say. But Dennis Quaid is Harvey. Holy hell, I have not seen Dennis Quaid like this much on fire in a role in so long. Like, the dude was absolutely diabolical in this film. I loved the madness that he presents on screen with his character. He's such a ball of energy, such a ball of toxicity. It's just enthralling to watch his performance in this. I was really impressed, and I gotta say, I really want to see Dennis Quaid have a resurgence, just playing more roles like this, because he killed it. But really, we know who our main stars are here, and that's Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley. My God, these two women just absolutely crushed it. And the fact that they are playing one and the same, as I will say that they kind of angle that in the film there, they both just absolutely embodied each other wonderfully, but still having enough subtle differences and subtle personalities, especially as a character of Sue develops. It was just so enthralling to watch these two kind of go back and forth with each other. I love the idea that the substance presents just as a concept and what they use it for. But the fact that you can have two actresses who are not only understanding each other from just slight cadences, but then also just even looking very similar. It all just fires on all cylinders. It's just incredible to me. I was completely in love with both of them. I thought that they both brought the intensity when they needed to bring it, and they both brought some of the elegance to their characters when they had to. And to watch them kind of, again, devolve into madness, very much like Dennis Quaid's character, I was obsessed. I just was sitting there just saying, like, I love every second of this.
Yeah, to be honest, without strong performances, I can see this film being slightly compromised in that aspect of it, where, if you don't have the acting chops to carry the scenes before we get to that heavy science fiction element, that heavy horror element, it just wouldn't work. But, like you said, Dennis Quaid, he's kind of a smaller role in here, but when he's on screen, he absolutely steals the show. There's a scene in here with Demi Moore, and he's kind of delivering some heavy news, and then he kind of flips that switch as he sees someone that he knows, and then just goes off about his day, and it's just kind of this unawareness of him being an asshole or just not caring that you absolutely love, but you absolutely hate. And for those scenes that he is on screen, I mean, I think you're just captivated by his presence. And then, yes, with Demi Moore, again, this was a big selling point for me. I was excited to see her dive in that realm of horror and how she was going to present. And I got to be honest, I resonate with her character in terms of what she's going through. You see this so often, and that social commentary that they do bring to this. So, for me, I think her performance was just so well done. In nothing. Well, we do get a little bit, we do turn that dial up as we get further in the film, but even during the beginnings where it's a little more subtle for her. And then we kind of get into a Margaret Qualley as Sue, and this dichotomy that we have of these almost similar but different personalities, that are kind of working at odds, and the way they present this, the dynamic that they have, and how you have to follow the substance, and I guess the time that you get, they use that tension just absolutely perfect. There are some instances in here where we're getting toward, I guess, the end of your time, so to speak, and the situations they find themselves in are just absolutely terrifying, especially while Sue kind of goes a little haywire, so to speak, and starts kind of taking some sort of liberties. And I will be honest, before we get to the big kind of payoff, I'd say, the way Sue goes about things and taking advantage of things made me cringe. It was something
Oh, it's
where I
so
wanted
hard,
to
so
tap
hard to
out
watch, dude.
and say, it made me feel ill, and it's really hard to do, us being reviewing horror movies like we do, but to kind of generate that response for me was really visceral, and it was one of those things where I almost wanted to pause our screener and just take a lap for a second, because it was just absolute brutality, and we hadn't even got into that absolute kind of gore fest horror that we do get eventually.
Yeah, and I think the thing about that, because I know exactly what you're talking about, it's just like at that point in the film, you already know what the consequences are. So it's like watching somebody just dive so headfirst into it, knowing what it's going to look like, and the payoff there. Finally, like last I'll say on the cast before I get into final thoughts here is just Demi Moore commits so hard in this film. There are some very demanding things from not just an actress, but from any actor. They are put into some situations. I won't say anything that spoils them, but they're put in situations where they have to perform with something that I could only imagine the level of commitment that needed to go into pulling this off. It's just mind-boggling to me that somebody of her caliber, and truly, just being a guy about it, her beauty would be so down to go into something like that, because God, the effects and everything that they do and where they end up by the end of this film is just it had my jaw on the floor. And just the performance that she gives, I put it on the same level as Jeff Goldblum in The Fly, when it comes to certain aspects here, where it's just that level of commitment, that level of gross tenacity. Like it's so good. It is. And I gotta say, I think if I had to really nail it down for you guys, if I had to really compare this to anything, there are a lot of films you can, but I think ones without really getting in any spoilers that I can say is everybody is raving about Strange Darling and just what a surprise that film is. I say that this is just as big, if not bigger, of a surprise to me. This is one that's going to, I think, take people by storm who are into this kind of thing. Because yes, this isn't going to be everybody's film. And there was a minute there where I thought, okay, we're going to go into some light body horror. They commit, and they commit big. It's bold, it's exciting, it's aggressive, and it's a must see. Absolutely. The substance for me is a must see.
Yes, like I said, as I was watching this film, that hesitation of this film's going great, but when is this going to take a turn? It's going to do something that I'm just going to feel a little underwhelmed. And I got to say, the substance kept serving me. Every helping, every scene that we got to, every beat of this film. And when we get into those deep-rooted body horror elements, I got to say, I have not been pleased from a body horror perspective of a film, that element, in a very long time, the way the substance presents this. Like you said, you mentioned The Fly. There are some beats in here that are very similar to The Fly that I find absolutely jarring. It's one of the scenes that makes me cringe in The Fly, and I cringed, but I absolutely love them in the substance as well, because they were presented so great. The coloring here is so beautiful. There's a yellow coat in here that Demi Moore wears a lot. And when we get into some of the deeper body horror elements,
I love it.
it's just absolutely great. I'm excited for people to see that. I'm excited to see, that scene become available for people. I think that's going to live on. And be replayed a lot. And when we get into that third act, oh my gosh, I was just so excited. The ending, hit. It was. I didn't know how it was going to end, but somehow they found the perfect ending to this film. So for me, The Substance, absolute must see. Absolutely exciting filmmaking. I cannot wait to see what's next here. This is a big win in the body horror genre. You know,
Can we
my God.
can we just say having this and a film that I know we're dying for you guys to see test screening, because seeing these in such close succession together has given Luke and I, who are massive body horror fans, we love cosmic horror, we love body horror, like it's some of our jam. It's the thing we love writing a lot about. Having these two films just ace that material in such a way that we have not seen in decades, it's so good. It feels so good to have these original films that are just nailing the concepts of body horror and cosmic horror and just the idea of like science fiction horror and what it can be. You know, this is stuff that I would expect to see again from in today's society, like a Brandon Cronenberg. This is like a Brandon Cronenberg kind of movie. But no, I am very much looking forward to the next film that she makes. I hope that she stays in this realm. But I mean, apparently her last film, like I said, was an essay revenge thing. She jumped that was a very popular genre in the 70s. She jumped to this, which is body horror. Lord knows what she's gonna do. As Luke and I always say, she needs to do a werewolf movie. Let's fucking
Done.
go.
Every
She'd be
filmmaker,
perfect.
come on.
Anything she does, I'm there day one. I swear. After this, like, I'm such a Substance fan, it's absurd.
Yeah, this one's such an exciting film. I'm excited for people to get out there and see this. If this is a little bit of a drive for you, I'm going to say you're not going to regret it. Go out there, check this one out, support a film like this. We need more filmmaking like this.
Absolutely.
It's just something so
it's
unique.
Risky. It's aggressive.
Yes, absolutely. This is something I can't wait to own a physical copy of this. You know, I can't wait for merchandise to be available. I hope we get some sort of the Substance shirts. I will be buying one as soon as they're available. Just absolutely great film. This is great filmmaking. I can't support it enough. I can't say higher praise for this film. Go out and check out The Substance.
I know. I want to get a little vial like what they had and put some green liquid in it and just put activation on there. It's just so good. As you can tell, we're geeking out about this one hard, guys. This was such a treat. And I mean, Fantastic Fest is literally just days away for us. And to already have a film that we're walking in with such high praise on, like, it's interesting. We're going to see. They got some competition. We might walk out of this here saying, those were good, but they're no substance. You know what I mean? Like, Jesus. Yeah, seriously, I'm excited. Like Luke said, this is worth the drive. This is worth the commitment. If you're a body horror fan, if you love aggressive, unique, interesting, diverse horror, this is something for you. If you are into slashers and you just want something simple, campy, fun, hell, I thought this was a blast, but this might not be for you. So I will warn you there, because this goes to some places that you got to be ready. You got to be strapped in, kids. So, alrighty, that's all we can say. Otherwise, we're going to be talking too much. So that's going to wrap it up here. We got a lot of great stuff up on the channel. I just released a list where I go over 5 of my personal favorite, most brutal horror films. And we'll have some more things like that on the way. So thank you so much for embracing it. Thank you so much for the growth that we've had on the channel the last couple of days. It's been crazy. I think by the time we wake up tomorrow, we might even be past 7,000 subs. So we'll see. If not, we'll definitely be there by the weekend. So, alrighty, guys. That's going to wrap it up here. So until next time, I'm Dylan Newell.
And I'm Luke Janesco.
And remember, stay scared.
Do the horror shit, gonna do it live. Cause Splattercast kick it every day they live. Splattercast, gonna slash your ass. 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 Splattercast, gonna slash your ass.